Ladies and gentlemen, I'm your host, Double A. This is Crown of Thoughts. Patrick Weaver,
It's me.
how you been?
Uh, that's a very complex question, man. Uh, it's gonna take more than 2 hours to get through that.
Let's start at the
Uh,
beginning.
I think I've been better, um, than I was when the people seen me last time. In a lot of ways, like with my alcohol-fueled kind of frenzy, I calmed down a lot since then. I just realized everything's backwards, so I try to fix this and
Oh,
make it
it
worse.
always
Fuck it.
fucks with my head.
Yeah.
That
Anyway,
shit.
but all in all, I'm doing a lot better. Psychologically, though, I'm kind of going through similar things as him with the um, dealing with like trying to rid myself of addiction, which is going to be a very tough process. And actually, I had a conversation with him the one night, and I was probably pretty plastered. I think I was blacked out. And I told him like how helpful, I told you how helpful your podcast was to me,
The
and how you
recovery
yeah,
episode.
and how you need to keep doing it, man, because honestly, you got something special there, man. I felt that.
I started
So
feeling burnt out and tired and not having nothing to say. And I do that with all my projects. I'm like, I think I want to give up. And then the next day, I'm like all excited about it. And, the
mm,
fucking the ups and downs, man. But
we
yeah,
we lived together for quite some time, and it was there was a lot going on,
that was a
and
crazy actual
yeah,
era, to be
yeah.
honest.
I mean,
The me with those fucking mushrooms.
oh my God, dude. Like when I'm telling you to chill out, like it's probably time you should probably think about chilling out.
I
But
got
yeah.
Pat telling me to fucking calm down. But
Did
no,
you
yeah,
you
there
tell
was
that story about you
about when
mentioned this to
when
me?
I felt like I almost went schizophrenic or whatever, or
With
the
the
night.
album cover, well, where you felt like the only way to completely understand it is to become the painter in some way, or if I'm getting the wrong
Yeah, I
thing.
said if I stopped existing, I could know.
Yeah,
No, I said I was looking at the painting and I said I could know every single thing about the person that painted that from the
exactly.
time he was born till he died. I just have to stop being me. And that's when you were like, yeah, maybe.
Yeah, because I was like, well, if you get in your head that you cease to exist, I mean, mushrooms are a very powerful thing. And if you get an idea in your head, you can convince your mind of anything pretty much. So like the fact that you said cease living in your own self and become something else, I was like, well then you can't go back to that. You can't go back to what you were. So
And
you could have got stuck in a loop
that's
of
how
some
when you
sort.
hear these stories about, because we both did a good bit of psychedelics growing up when we were younger and whenever else, I don't know, but you would hear these stories. Oh, the guy thought he was a glass of orange juice, and
Yeah,
if you tipped him over, he'd
yeah.
spill out. And it's like that's not true. That's some bullshit. But then that night when that happened to me, I was it. It was a light bulb went off in my head. I'm like, that's how people go. I don't know if that story's true,
Well,
but that's how that type of shit happens.
I can
A
imagine this.
strange
Yeah,
loop in your head.
yeah. Um, so when you came over saying that and you're concerned, but you were like actually considering doing it, I came in, I looked at the picture, there's so much going on in it. And I was like, dude, I said, don't look at that picture ever again. Don't listen to that fucking song or any of those songs ever again. Just come on over and let's talk. and you shut it off. I hope you didn't look at it again, or maybe you did out of
No,
curiosity. But
like a couple days later, like it popped back on my YouTube thing. You know how it does that? And
you're
I
like, get
just,
out here.
yeah, I scrolled down in a
Shoot.
fucking fury.
Yeah, don't. If something has that much power over you, just don't indulge in it. Or you could stare it hard in the eyes and find out. Fuck around and find out. That's what they say. Yes.
Yeah, I guess so. That term really fits in
You
there.
you kind of chilled out on the mushrooms after
I
that,
will never.
right? Like,
I'm
did
never
did
gonna
you
do that
stop
again.
completely?
Um, I think that might have been the last time because I won't. I have. I'm too tired to do that shit no more.
Yeah, that's how I got to
Plus,
feeling
after
after
an
a long time.
experience like that was the first psychedelic experience where I feared I might go crazy ever,
Yeah,
and that was the last time I ever. I'm like, I'm never doing that again.
I had a
I
situation.
did some LSD after that, but I never
Yeah,
touched
that's a
mushrooms
different
again.
thing though.
And even
So
that, I was like, what the fuck am I doing, man?
there's people that say LSD's like more powerful or whatever than
It's different.
psilocybin. I mean, there's analogs and different chemicals. You never know what you're getting these days, but mushrooms specifically, I would say they're way more powerful and suggestive.
Yeah, suggestive.
And
It's a good
there's a
word.
lot to it, man. I've gotten myself into a situation in my head that where time actually stopped for an hour. I might have talked about that.
Oh yeah.
Yeah. And shit was real. I mean, as real could be, for me at
You were
least.
watching Terrence McKenna too,
Terrence
weren't you?
McKenna. He was talking to a crowd, and then suddenly, with blazing eyes, and Terrence McKenna's voice with blazing, hellish eyes, he turned from the crowd and he did this. And then he started talking. He's like, you know, looking at the clock is counterproductive to what you're trying to achieve right now. And with blazing eyes, he was staring at me. And then he said, what if I were to turn time off and show you that time is just a construct, that time does not exist? And I'm just thinking, like, I'm almost like spooked by this shit because he's talking to me. It felt like maybe he was. And I said, no, don't do that, dude. No, no, we're good. But he said he did it anyway. Time stopped for an hour, and this was like a good, man, it might have been 5 years ago. This is when I got out of the pen. So some old hippie man, I said I want to do some shrooms. He's like, oh my friend, he gave me this batch. He said something. It's a special batch or whatever, and it's just a small little 3 grams. So I took an MAO. What is it? MAOI? Is that what that would be?
Inhibitor.
Yeah. Or is
MIO
it an
inhibitor.
MAO or is it MAOI? Anyway,
I think
forget, but it's like
MIOI.
Syrian. I don't know. I took enough that I ended up doing the math. It ended up being because they ended up being Azorenses, or however you pronounce that. And I thought they were like regular, like cubensis. So it was like I took like close to 30 grams of mushrooms. And when shit kicks in, when you take mushrooms and that shit kicks in within 15 minutes, and it's a particle wave coming your way, and it's making the whole room flux and glow brighter, and then, I mean, you're doomed, dude. Like, that shit's not gonna stop anytime soon, and you're gonna have to just deal with it. So just ride that wave. And it was like a wave. It came in and then it receded. It came in and it receded. But then after that, I mean, I was kind of spooked and I dabbled a little bit here and there, but I kind of said, like, maybe I learned what I need to learn off this stuff and I should just chill out, you know?
Yeah, maybe just and in a lot of other ways too. Lately, I've been thinking maybe it's just like less stressful to chill and have a quieter evening and not fly to outer
Yeah.
space. I don't know. I'm worn out from those type of
Well,
things.
you were having fun with like
Oh yeah,
you'd have like your 40 or whatever beer, and then you'd have like you'd be just eating them straight out of the bag. They'd be like falling off your beard. And I'm like,
Chugging
damn,
them down
bro.
with beer.
Of course. I get it. Trust me, I get it, but damn. Nah, you went a little hard for a while with the mushrooms. I
I
was actually
started.
surprised
It's because like,
mental fortitude that you had to do that.
yeah, I
Yeah.
I am too, and it started to be like a world that I would visit often. So like, I'd eat them, and like exactly 1 hour later, I'd hear this, and something would
Sweet.
be like, "Hey, you're back, man," and
Huh?
I became like familiar with the feeling of the trip, and it was
So,
like I was revisiting like some spirit type shit, and like the way I'm talking, you can
okay.
tell like
Yeah.
when you it changed. It wasn't like when you do it once and
Yeah, yeah,
then
yeah.
and
Yeah,
then you
it
know
changes over.
it was like
Yep.
because I was doing it consistently
Y-
over certain spans of time that it started to feel like I was just visiting a place.
Yeah, I understand what you're saying. All psychedelics, it seems like, especially specific ones, and the more you do them, it seems like there's some kind of governing entity that, like, honestly, most of the people I know were like, well, the one guy I was on it with, I was like, dude, do you feel like there's something huge just watching down on us? And he was like, dude, that is exactly how I feel. And he's like, I'm afraid to fucking look up. And I say, yeah, don't look up, bro. Don't look up. We're not looking up. And I don't know. I started feeling like there's something. Maybe it's a god. Maybe it's a different type of entity or deity or whatever. I mean, a lot of religions actually um, took mushrooms and thought it bring out like this mother goddess or plant goddess or whatever. Also, you might be familiar with the story where was it the Mayans? I don't want to misquote stuff, so I'm gonna probably not say too much historical stuff, but it was either the Mayans or the Incans. I think it was Mayans. Who was the like fighting culture?
Yeah, I
They
don't know.
beheaded like thousands
Oh
of their
yeah,
neighbors
yeah,
because
and they would like chop the head off and roll it down them steps and shit. Is that what you're talking about?
yeah, that's part of it. But there was an episode where he must have had a psychotic break, or there might be something to it. But the entity that visited it, whoever was in charge, said we need to kill every single neighbor we have and sacrifice them to this god because it said that's what we need to do. And he proceeded to do this genocidal act with his people, and they killed literally everyone around him. I don't know what the numbers are. You can look it up. I'm not gonna try to like misquote stuff. So, um,
It's weird because like when I talking like about totalitarian governments and oppressive governments, and then you get into the fascism and the communism, and there's all these numbers of deaths, and
yeah,
I feel like I could say like 100 million deaths caused by communism, but you're in
yeah,
your head, you're like, if I miss these numbers up, if I largely miss these numbers, I'm
yeah.
discounting
You're gonna
like
get the
all these
fact check.
human beings that you know what I mean. I feel pressure on getting those numbers right because
Yeah,
that's serious
I'm just
shit.
saying if it's something that interests you, look into it. It did happen. It was a big deal. Obviously, killing all your neighbors, not just a few neighbors, but all of them. That's a pretty big deal to me. I mean,
And you're saying back the Mayans, like back
it
in like the
was,
pyramids
I'm
and
pretty
shit.
sure it was the Mayans. Yeah, it was during the pyramids. Well, they had their series of pyramids, and every culture around the planet actually has pyramids.
They
So, you know, in
found them.
China.
They found them under like woods underground. They found them in the ocean, in the bottom of the
Yeah,
ocean.
they found them everywhere.
Yeah, they're finding
The
more
planet is
now.
covered. Um, Graham Hancock talks about him flying over the Amazon, I believe it was, the rainforest, and he was using a technology that was new at the time called LiDAR, and it was like a ground penetrating, like I guess infrared technology that they could actually see what was underneath the canopy and underneath the soil. And he said there were like miles upon miles, square miles of uh, just different, like actual like societies. And there are pyramids and different like structures, and the whole rainforest is so dense. And dude, I bet you not even 5-10% of it has been looked into. But he said the ground penetrating radar found all kinds of shit like everywhere. Like every square inch was covered with something. It's pretty wild to think about, but that's something I've been getting into, the history of humans and
In general.
where we came from, like the idea of who our creator is, and more importantly is like why are we here and what are we made to do, and what is Earth? Is it terraformed, or you know? So I've been like studying that a little bit. I'd say studying as I'm watching YouTube and reading uh,
Yeah, I think that's
articles and
understood when
books,
you. I
but
think that's understood when people
I'm not
say that.
I'm not saying I'm like going out and buying like stacks of books and reading them. When I was
Digging up
actually
fossils and shit.
when I was in the dog pound, I actually did read like a book a day. Me and my friend Guy Welty, we would trade books back and forth. We read so many books on like different religions, theosophy, physics, which I think ties into religion, honestly, with their technology. Uh, for some reason, I don't know. There's something fascinating about Nazis in a way that, like, first off, like, why go so far, and then also, like, yeah, you went pretty fucking far. Like, what made you go that far? And also, there's all these stories and whispers about their technologies that they have, and that, they say,
And then there's the stories of the people talk about the aliens
yeah,
fitting them in the
yeah,
mix there with the
and you
Nazis.
don't, you don't know what's true.
No, you don't.
Nobody
But
knows.
you've heard that
Yeah,
theory
everybody
before. Yeah,
has. Yeah.
yeah.
Apparently there is a FBI, like through like FOIA, Freedom of Information Act. People are able to retrieve documents, and again, I might sound like a conspiracy nut, so don't take everything with a tiny grain of salt or salt. But apparently he wasn't killed. He went to Argentina and lived quite a few years. Probably found like the uh, what do they call it, Fountain of Youth, and he's probably still alive, flying around in some kind of spaceship in Antarctica, living in the center of the Earth, which is actually flat, and you know, stuck here, like probably still fighting the Jews. Who knows what the fuck's going
He said that he was,
on? That most of that was a joke, obviously, but I don't
but
believe that rap.
he had quoted that he was fighting the Illuminati or some shit like that.
I'd like to read that.
I
I
found it on
know.
the on Google because I was like, what the fuck was this dude doing that he wanted to when
And per,
someone does something like that, it's like, what is the fucking reason? And I
I
read a lot about it, and the one thing he said he was trying to fight the Illuminati.
really like literally the Illuminati. Like
Yeah, well,
no,
that's literally a quote.
was that in Mein Kampf? I actually read. Sometimes I zone out when I read because I have ADHD, and if I'm not on any kind of substance or meds, I'll catch myself reading a whole chapter and then be like, wait a minute, I didn't retain any of that because I was
I'm the
thinking
same.
about what I got to do here,
I'm the same
and then I
way.
got to go back and read it, and sometimes I just skip it. I don't think it was that important, but I read a good bit of Mein Kampf, and which was his like manifesto when he was in. It was written while he was in like, was that the German prison? It's called a gulag, I guess, something like that,
Not
maybe.
sure.
But it's weird because like Illuminati is supposed to have like some kind of truth, like supreme truth that like you obtain when you get to a certain level. I mean, this is what they say. They like, I guess, conspiracy people, and I guess you have to obtain a certain level, which they say 33rd degree, or even when you get close. Apparently, there's a lot above that, but uh,
What's the
it's so
30?
ridiculous.
What's
I
the
lost my
33rd
thought.
degree thing? I've heard
Um,
that before. No idea
well,
what.
33 is actually a really important number. I had a friend who was really into numerology. Um, Jesus was 33 when he was said to have died. There's a lot of 33s. I mean, like 33.333 is 1/3 of 100, so it's like you could use 33 as like an angle. Um, it's 1/3. I don't know. Somebody could probably say it
Damn.
a lot more
I ne-
poetically than me.
no, I never even fucking heard that shit, man.
But
That's
the
wild
thing,
because there'd be three of them of all threes, and
the reason it came up was something called theosophy, which like he was in these different groups when he started out, like becoming popular, and they were like this metaphysical, spiritual, like witchy kind of groups. Like Madame Blavatsky, I think is how you pronounce her name. She was like part of this order, the Golden Dawn, and I think Aleister Crowley was in there somewhere. Jack Parsons started JPL, uh, Jet Propulsion Laboratory. But anyway, Hitler was into all this type of stuff, and they say the Illuminati's into that. Maybe they just emerged into one thing. They said, let's stop fighting, and we can take over the world with our knowledge, so we'll just come together. So who knows, man? Maybe they just joined. Um, yeah, I don't know. So,
yeah, but I heard that somewhere. But yeah, it's really fucking weird thinking about these. Like, what possesses you? You would think it would take more energy out of your life to kill a bunch of people than to just like I don't
yeah,
understand it.
and
Like like the fucking it's because what I read about him
it's
is
so disgusting
he
too,
was
man.
he was disgusted in everything, and he used the chemicals he used to sanitize the factories down there. He used to kill people later, and so he was some kind of crazy, obsessive,
Um,
compulsive, crazy,
yeah, but he was
horrible
super intelligent. If
human
you
being.
read his book, his manifesto, or his, he was super intelligent. He started what started out as like the Nazi Work Party, and then it ended up as like the Nazi Party, and then like the Third Reich towards the end, I guess. I could be wrong. I don't know. Probably talking about a bunch of shit that's gonna get this banned. They don't like Nazis. Nobody. Well, who
Nobody
does?
does, but it's just information. It's fascinating. It's like you watch shit
I,
about serial killers. No one likes serial killers.
yeah, I mean, they
It's-
fucking made a whole thing with Jeffrey Dahmer. I watched like five
oh
minutes
yeah,
of it, and I'm like, dude,
you had to
I,
put it down.
I can't. No, I was playing in my friend's room, and they were like watching the whole thing. But he was like, I think there was like, I don't know, there was some black dude just kind of chilling. He looked terrified. And I think Jeffrey Dahmer was like making him watch some video or like I don't know, it was like some gay porn or some shit. But he was holding a knife at the guy.
Everyone
I
was
don't know.
talking about that movie for a while. I didn't watch it. Um, I used to like have books about serial killers and this and that, and it just started to get dark for me. And I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't need to know about that.
Were you one of those people that had like all those Faces of Death videos and stuff like that?
No, not that far.
So I know you like death metal, and they got some pretty gnarly lyrics and covers and all
I'm
that
gonna say
shit.
when I was young, like in high school, I visited that Rotten.com page,
I think I
and that's
seen
kind of
one.
like as far as. And then that page would advertise the faces of death, and then
I
that
think
stuff's just it, it's like real images
it's
of people
real
dying.
images mixed with realistic images turned into like this like sadistic like kind of collage of really gnarly videos. I had this friend, I'm not gonna name drop. He's actually a good dude from as I remembered him and as he is now. But like I said, I'm not gonna name drop. But he back in the day, you know, I used to smoke a lot of weed. Like a lot of weed, man. You remember those days. I mean, we would roll up like a half ounce in a fucking big joint, like 10 papers deep. Walk around the woods, you know. But I had this friend. Every time we smoked some weed, he'd be like, "Yo, bro, do you want to watch Faces of Death?" And I'd be like, "Fuck no, dude. Not
Was he that?
what? I'm stoned as fuck. I ain't watching that shit. That's crazy, man.
Was this a trailer park?
What? No, no. This guy lived.
Okay,
Actually, he lived above a police officer. Um,
okay, that's not. It's not who I was thinking.
I know that's not relevant. I just think it's funny. He lived above a police officer. I don't think he went on to be a killer. He was actually an artist.
Oh, he himself was kind
A
of fucking
very.
weird to be around.
He was never weird to be around, but I don't know why he always went. It was like, you know, like somebody's gay and they're trying to like maybe like hit on you or something. It was kind of like that. How I felt. Like I felt like invaded that way. Like if somebody's gay and they're trying to hit on you,
He was
like.
like he was
He'd be
hiding
like, "Hey,
something.
bro, listen, man." Put his hand on my hand. Be like, "Do you want to watch Faces of Death, man? What's up, man? Come on, dude. Nobody has to know. We can watch Faces of Death together." I mean, it wasn't like that, but that's how I felt. That's how invaded I felt because I'm stoned as fuck, and I'm like, "Dude, you're trying to ruin my high, bro. Like, seriously, you're gonna fuck my head up. I can't watch that shit while I'm high." Imagine watching that shit on hallucin. I don't know. Think about it.
No, cause like man, when you're real high, you need to watch something happy.
It's pretty
You know?
gross, man. I don't even like watching TV at all. I don't like looking at my phone. But I've kind of like over the years. I mean, even when I was living here those years ago, I kind of like was out of that phase. When I went to the pen was kind of like towards the end. I ended up being in a psychosis of sorts and ended up getting arrested and stayed some time in prison. I don't mind admitting that. It was all for like retail theft, but um, that's how I got sober from a lot of different drugs and a lot of prescribed drugs. I just one day said, I'm not taking shit. Not one fucking drug. And I would probably take about 10, 15 chemicals a day. Um, Probably like 10 of them were prescribed though. So the other ones were just like, I don't know. And there's a lot of LSD there too at that time in my life. And I think I got this psychosis thing where I was really paranoid, schizophrenic almost. it ended up going away after a while. After I stayed some time in there. Scared shitless. Got some crazy stories about in there, but um, I ended up fucking way more. What would you say? Like way more effective in everything I did. Like I could read a whole book in one day. I could write 20 pages front to back, not skipping lines, which I could prove that. Yeah,
after you cleaned up,
I had to do that. I was in some called Freedom Program. Yeah.
and they kind of forced
It
you
was like a
to.
Nazi concentration camp. You're supposed to tell on each other in there, which I got kicked out twice for not taking part in it. And then I was like, all right, I guess I gotta do it. And then like everybody, I was an easy target because I was going through withdrawal, and I'm not telling on other people. So the counselor is the leader, and he has a whole group of other like sociopathic convicts that have ranked high enough in intelligence to be his like little evildoers. So that's how that program worked, and they would like tell everybody from the mouth of him what's gonna happen. So
It's crazy.
it's a program basically ran by the most efficient criminals, and you were supposed to tell on each other. I I mean, it seems like the worst situation you could be in jail, honestly. But I mean, I could go on and on about that. It doesn't matter. It just doesn't change the thing. Anyway,
Grab my drink there from the fridge, and we're back. And we never left for you guys.
nope. I've been in this chair the whole time. Some say I've always been in this chair. About that one.
So this freedom program.
Mm. So, yeah, I mean, honestly, it had its benefits, and you can see how a program like that would have its downfalls. Wasn't a perfect program. I got kicked out 3 times, and to finish, you have to do a very, very, very stringent 190 days. Especially if you go in there like shot the fuck out, like how I was. Because imagine taking a lot of chemicals and then just not taking those chemicals. And a lot of it was my daily thing was LSD. And then, like, if it got, I was trying to explore as far as I could. And then if it got to be too much, I would snort like 5, 6, 7, 8 milligrams of Xanax. And then when I'd go through whole scripts, I'd be blacked out for weeks, months. And then, am I saying probably too much? I don't know. This was like a good amount of years
It was a
ago. I'm
long
not
time
even
ago.
near like. Oh my god, dude! I can only imagine. Like honestly, thinking about those days. I was in a strange headspace. It's kind of scary, to be honest. But so I would go as far as I could on LSD, and then I would take Xanax to calm down and sleep at night, or I wouldn't sleep. And if I didn't have Xanax, I was in a panic, like straight up panic attack. Some of you may relate to this, but the shower was my safe place. Um, they ended up hanging a fucking big-eyed frog that had like you could store your lotions and body washes and stuff on it, but it was this giant-eyed frog. And the thing was, at that time, it was like eyeballs everywhere. They're all watching me. I'm going crazy. If any of y'all been through like psychosis or drug psychosis, Xanax causes it, and especially if you're doing LSD all the time, uh, I mean, like they both cause psychosis. And then when I'd run out, this is what got me put in prison because I passed out outside. This is embarrassing, honestly, but full disclosure, I ended up
We fucking
inhaling air duster, which please everybody, it does get you high, but do not do it, especially now they put like bitters, is that what they call it? Like bitterants, different chemicals in it. And you can have seizures, bang your face on something, you could die. It cuts off oxygen. But air duster, any of y'all know what that is. That's how I would get to sleep. I would have a can of air duster beside me if I didn't have my Xanax. And I'd just go and then go to sleep. But so you can see how I was in the psychosis. So when I went in, I was in a program called Psych Ops, which didn't seem like a very healthy program for me, but they had to observe me. And I could tell you stories about that that are strange. And then I ended up in the Freedom Program, and I say it was such a bad program that I probably have uh, PTSD. Well, most definitely have PTSD from my whole experience in
from,
there. Not because I was raped or anything. What's that?
from the story you just told, that would cause PTSD, all that fucking crazy
Yeah.
blackouts and
Oh
shit
my
like that.
God. I was going through PTSD without even knowing it beforehand. I was dealing with prior PTSD and causing myself more PTSD, and then got myself arrested and had more PTSD. And I ended up actually getting pretty healthy in that program. And as much shit as I just sat here and talked about it, of I mean, honestly, it gave me a routine, and it made me actually use my brain. Like, imagine having to write 20 pages front and back, and I think there's like, if you don't skip lines, there's 500 words, so it's 1,000 word per page, 20 pages, that's 20,000 words. I challenge you to write 20,000 words on why you should not leave soap residue on the sink for the next person to have to clean up.
Oh, is that
Go
type of
ahead and
shit?
try to do that. I dare you. Like, fucking send it to me, man. Send it to Aaron. He'll give you his address. Send it to me. But yeah, dude, I ended up being pretty. I think yeah, I ended up healing a lot of things, and I ended up being a better person. And then I went to work release, and that's where I ended up reading a lot, and I ended up getting a job at a fast food place, and it was at the mall, and but it was a job. It was better in jail, and I was eating tacos all day and Chinese food and shit. If you've ever had jail food for a year, you can imagine fucking delicious Chinese food with soy sauce and
Dude,
sriracha.
I will go to that mall, walk up there, get a Chinese food meal. Only one of them went out of business, but one's still there. I'll
Was it
sit
the
down
Mexican ones or the other
with the Chinese food, and I'll sit down and eat it, and then go home. But I'll go to the mall just for that food because that shit's great.
It's funny because the one beside Taco Bell was actually ran by
That's the one
Mexicans,
that's still there.
and
That's what you
their
were
food is
asking.
pretty good. Yeah,
That's the one that's still there.
they used to hook us up all the time. Like, excuse me, I apologize. But anyway, what I was getting at is as much shit as I talk about the Freedom Program and how kind of ironic it is to call it a Freedom Program. I could have gotten out early, but because of a whole bunch of circumstances with my probation officer, I just decided, shit, I'm getting all paper, I'm gonna max out, and I'm just gonna go to work release. I went to the mall to work, ended up being management, ended up having a pretty great routine, and I was set up because of the freedom program set me up with life skills, which I already had, but I had like kind of degraded over time, degenerated, I guess you would say.
Excuse me.
So I
I know
was,
all about that.
yeah, man, I ended up degenerating into a blob, just laid in bed sick, and then did drugs, and then laid in bed sick, and then did drugs, and went out and tried to score drugs and got robbed, and guns stuck in my face, and all kinds of crazy shit,
And
man.
so
Like,
and so when people hear you saying like I got some kind of routine and I got a job and I did this and I did that, they're not understanding how ridiculous it is to come off of how many chemicals to restructure your whole life to do like a routine is where it all starts to get better, but you don't have any of that. Like you said, just sitting around the house
to,
feeling sick and shit for how long, and then it's all of a sudden it's like go do life.
yeah,
It's like
especially in my shoes, the fact that I was given the tools and the knowledge and uh, all that, and the people I'm living with are fucking spectacular. I mean, they do so much for me and help me out and keep me healthy and keep me away from a lot of crap. Honestly, the last was it 3 that I've done with you before this?
one, two, three.
I don't even know, man.
This is your fourth time on
This
the
is
show.
4th, yeah. This is probably the first time I'm pretty cognitively aware.
Two. Uh, Patrick Weaver was the first ever guest on my show, by the way,
I hold that.
because
I'm
this was kind of both our idea.
putting that in my
At
pocket
least it
right
was a
now.
conversation that we had. But you did that one, another one, and then you did one with Cinekill,
Yeah, yeah, I remember that.
where it was a
Yeah.
3 panel, and you told force the wall squirrels
Oh,
story,
yeah.
the
You always tell me about that.
geometrical,
You love that story.
perfectly geometrical
I have to
ball of
tell it
piss.
again. I'm better at telling stories when I'm drinking. I'm funnier, people say.
Everyone is.
Everybody says I should write books on all the shit that I've been through, but
You would be a good author, honestly.
yeah, I don't know.
Well,
Probably.
if you're scatterbrained, it's almost damn near impossible to write a book. But you would be
I
a good.
well,
You would if you were focused and decided that was what you wanted to pour your time into.
that's what I
You'd be
was
good
getting
at it.
at though. I have the mental tools and I know what needs to be done, but I have like so much what you might it to me it kind of sounds like a cop out or it makes me sound kind of weak, I feel like. But the PTSD and the anxiety and the bipolar and all these diagnoses that I'm not actually getting like actual help because I'm trying to do it on my own. I've actually made a lot of improvements, and that's not me just trying to like blow smoke up everybody's ass. Uh, you can probably see I don't have my bucket of uh, this shit's backwards. I don't have my bucket of fireballs. I'd be
Oh
drink
yeah,
I'd be
man.
drinking a 20 pack of fireballs a day plus beer. I
Motherfucking.
won't. I'm not even allowed to drink liquor now.
But what do
Like
you
I
mean not
fucked that
allowed
up. Not allowed, man. I'm
in the house that you're at?
not even allowed at all. They're like, dude, we're kicking you out. You drink any liquor. I can drink beer, and you know,
Cat
I
bad,
don't go
man.
very far on it anymore. Like I've calmed down a lot in those circumstances. But
Sticking to beers.
what I'm saying, yeah, yeah. What I'm saying is I'm equipped with all the tools. It's just now it relies on me to have the self-control. And that's why I have so much respect for Aaron. And that's probably why I called him that one night and said, dude, you got to keep this going. And the backstory, I actually started that story. I don't think I finished. But I said, you got to keep this going, man. You did something awesome, man. You're speaking to me, dude. Like it's resonating. And I talked him up the one night, and I might have gotten a little bit blacked out towards the end, and I probably committed to doing another podcast. And this is the podcast. We actually did another one, which I'd call a dry run because the mic
We
it wasn't mic'd up.
yeah, we did like yeah, like a dry one. Last time you were over here chilling, we fucking recorded like an hour. Wasn't super professional.
What do you think? This
Uh,
one's better, right?
yeah, this one's gonna get like 4 million hits. I
Phew.
guarantee it. As soon as
I mean,
4 million people
when's
fucking find it.
I don't know what she goes by these days.
Uh,
She's got the highest
Jen. Yeah,
yeah,
she
but she
got the
goes by
highest
some
number.
she always has a new alias every time I see her. Anyway,
Rap names.
um, well,
Yeah,
I
she
don't
got
care.
the
She
highest
beats me up.
number
That's fine.
of hits. You originally did. That's what you're saying. You got your throne taken
Yeah.
away.
Well, no, I don't mind. She can take my throne all day, man. I don't know why would somebody want to watch my crusty ass anyway. But,
That's what when I
apparently
first started
people
doing it,
want me to
and
do this.
people that didn't know me started watching it. I'm not like not these videos don't get that many views, but what I'm saying is it's weird when things start to like progress a little bit and it's like all of a sudden there's fuckers that don't know you watching your video and it's like what the fuck do they want to
Yeah,
what are they getting out of this? Because I didn't
they're
start this
getting.
for any real reason.
My theory is maybe a little bit could be contributed to like field notes. Somebody want to take tabs on me. I have been shot. I also had incidences in the very far back past, like in my 20s, with firearms, where it led to either an aggressive confiscation of my firearm directly
Buddy.
from police, or it was a situation where I sold a firearm, well, a rifle that now would probably be deemed the fucking devil. Honestly, it was an AK-47, but
This
I
when
I
was what time period was this?
yeah, I was in my early 20s. I'm 38 now. I was probably like 22, 20. No, you know what? Uh, I sold it because I was going on probation because I got a DUI being drunk on one beer,
Are you
not
fucking
drunk.
with me?
Yeah, no, I slid in the snow and I was picking my brother and his friends up from a party. I'm like, oh, bro, seriously? It's fucking snowing out. I don't want to go drive out, fucking pick you guys up. All right, I'll come pick you guys up. Well, I end up sliding in the snow and I got T-boned by like uh, Volkswagen. But so all these kids come like a clown car. All these kids start running out of my car, and I'm left there like it's my car. I can't run from it. And Gary Brooks, good guy, I think, and Bones or Steve, little Steve, I used to call him, Steve Diana. I think he stayed, and my brother stayed, but they could smell alcohol, so they, I guess, got me to admit, which I was naive, and I didn't have to, and I would have, you know, it would have showed up in my blood a little bit, and the fact that I was 20 years old instead of 21 years old made it so that it was a DUI. If I would have been 21, which my birthday was in 1 month, it wouldn't have been a DUI. I would have
So
been
so
just fine.
like you're saying like because you would weren't allowed to drink, period.
Yeah,
So
it
you would have
counted
got
as a
an
DUI.
underage drinking, but
I
then
got that and a DUI.
a DUI, wouldn't you have to have a certain intoxication level? Or because you're under 21, you don't?
At the
Is that
time,
what
that
you're
was the law. Yeah. Um,
I don't know. That
I
may be what it
was
is now. I don't
I
know.
got lucky to get in ARD, and I've never had a driving under the influence since. But I was like 20 going on 21. Right before I turned 21, I got that DUI.
Are you saying so? You were 20
And
years old.
yeah,
Do you realize?
and
Do you
I had to
realize,
get rid of
Pat?
my AK-47 because of that.
Do you realize when I was 20 years old, I got an underage drinking and public drunkenness, and I was about to be 21. The
Wow,
same
dude.
shit. I went on. I had to take
Same fucking
ARD.
shit. You got ARD?
I did. We took
Oh,
ARD like the
cheers,
same
man.
fucking year
Fuck.
without knowing, dude. I had to. So that they gave me
How
a
old are you now?
39 now. They gave me like a
Unbelievable.
card that had a color, and you had to call every morning. That my color was
Oh, that
pink.
sounds like drug court.
Yeah, I
I know.
think
Dude, I just
it
gave my
was a whole drug
dude,
program.
I gave my shitload of money and they left me alone right after that. They said, "Well, my attorney, I paid for an attorney, and this took all my fucking money that I'd saved from working at. I think I was working at a Hardee's at the time. Took all my money to get a good attorney, fix my car, and then I understood the law enough to be like, okay, I'm gonna pay off this ARD fine and everything right away. And basically, my DUI was swept under the rug. And I mean, it's still visible, apparently, but not easily, readily visible. But yeah, that's when I was 20, I got a DUI. But I have a habit going from story to story to story without ever finishing any of it.
I'll do the same shit.
But let me try to backtrack and do it quickly. Uh, okay, so that DUI led to me going on probation. Me going on probation meant I had to sell my AR or my I had an AR-15 which I did sell I think around that time, and an AK-47 which I ended up selling, and it ended up getting stolen from the person I sold it to, uh, and it ended up being involved in uh, I never wanted to hear the story, so the like 12 different detectives on either side and the homicide police and just all these characters that wanted to ask me about it, I'd always just show my proof because I called the ATF and was like, see, these are key words. This is why I get so many views. But yeah, it's cut and dry. But yeah, I called the ATF. Yeah, I'm
You
pretty
think the
sure.
sound
Yeah, dude.
of the video,
Talk
like
to Sean Dugan. He knows stuff like this.
I don't think he like Sean. If you're watching this, I think
Well,
I used
sorry to
to.
name drop.
Yeah, but I think I used to do this thing where I thought anything complicated that had to do with the computer, oh, he's gonna know, and I think it kind of got irritating to him a
Yeah,
bit.
well, imagine being an
I don't know. I don't know, but I think.
insanely brilliant person and you have people calling you all day asking you about computer shit,
Yeah, it's like, bro,
which is
I'm
actually
trying to
like
watch fucking movie.
kindergarten shit to them, and be like, yeah, of course, and be sarcastic. But Sean Dugan's actually a stand-up dude in my eyes. I like him. He's good.
I invited him to come on
Keeping it
here.
up with him.
He's like, I don't know if I want too many people's. He's like, I don't know
Ah,
if I
and here I
want my
am name
personality
dropping.
out there on that
Well,
shit.
I should have just said SD.
Oh shit.
Could have just said SD. But nah, man. Like, why did I bring him up?
Um, you were
Oh,
telling.
he could tell you if like the verbal
Oh,
algorithm
the
picks it
algorithm.
up.
I don't. Yeah,
Well,
that's.
Siri, if you say Siri, well, I don't know. I hope you don't have that shit.
I don't know what
It'll
you're
be
talking
like,
about.
yes, how could I help you?
Oh, that. What's that? Alexa? You mean?
Or Google Assistant. I can't say it around my phone.
Oh.
Or my phone will be like start asking me questions. Um, yeah, no,
Your
like
phone will start
your
asking.
phone actually, well, the crazy part is I've noticed while I'm having phone conversations, Afterwards, I will be hit up with ads on different mediums.
Yo, that did
Um,
happen to me. That did happen to me. Fucking creeped
even
me
if I
out.
have it just sitting there, fucking, it always picks up all the shit and shows me all the shit. Like I could be making fun of something, it'll be like ads for that, and I'd be like, what the fuck? Why is it showing me like fucking monkeys in a tutu? Wait a
It
minute.
does. I
What am I talking about? A video with a monkey in a tutu? Huh. Anyway,
yeah,
we're
that
on to
shit
you.
freaks me out. Even with the honey,
It's freaky.
when I was talking about the psychedelic honey,
Oh,
it just
that's.
popped up with ads of that shit all over my shit, and I was like, oh,
Should I do the plug? Or.
because well, that's how I was at the grocery outlet and found this. I was like, why does it cost so much? It was like $10, but normally it's like 30
Yeah,
bucks. Manuka honey, and it's from New Zealand.
very good product,
And it
apparently.
has like all these fucking health things. I was on my phone looking it up at the store forever. So, anyways, the you're
Maybe it.
supposed to eat a little spoonful once
Maybe
a
it
day.
coats your stomach too and keeps toxins, or maybe it
I think
draws the
it does
toxins
stuff like
out.
that.
I think.
I think it does.
Also, lion's mane. If you just mix this with like spranola and spinach and some lion's mane, which tastes like shrimp, this would counteract it. Tastes like a hell of a drink. You probably crack some good eggs in there and
How do you
a
like?
couple
All
other
right.
things,
So, do you
carrots.
take lion's mane?
I was for a while,
How do
but
you get the
you
taste of
know,
it? How do like I have it and it's
you have to dilute it in like a smoothie, or something green.
it is
But
nasty.
they say if you break it down too fine, and you're gonna have to do your own research on that. I just said like I got to a point where I wasn't healthy, and I still am not very healthy. And actually, like my family, they always cook for me. Uh, they always like good people. If I was in a position where I always drop stuff because of my hand. Uh, it's like fixed in this position. You can see it's pretty red. I might lose it. I don't know. Sorry, it's hard to see which direction to go. But it's hard for me to cook. Cutting like vegetables, because I always liked organic, but it's hard for me to cook with a hand like this from my gunshot wound. But anyway, that's what I was getting at. All right, back to that. Can we go back to that? Is it cool? Or you're gonna say more about that? This is actually
Back to what?
I heard. Well, I told you I've gone down like a series of paths that uh, I'm gonna try to get back to what we were talking about. But no, actually, this honey I've heard about it before, and it's for whatever reason it's very healthy. I did watch something about it, but do your research as always. But he actually gave me this as a gift. I don't know if for coming on or whatever, like some
Yeah,
Joe
because I
Rogan
got a
shit. I
I got
appreciate it.
a bunch and looked it up. Well, I was looking at I was Joe Rogan talked about the fucking psychedelic honey, and then I looked it
Yeah.
up, and then but the it's called Mad Honey, and it comes from so that Manuka
Oh.
honey comes from New Zealand, and the Mad Honey comes from Turkey or Nepal, and they have these poisonous flowers that the bees pollinate, and they produce this psychedelic
Ah.
effect. Only grows in
It's a
certain
delirium
places,
then, or a dissociative,
something like that.
something like that. Yeah. Okay, so honey is great for fermenting, like specifically mushrooms. I think a long time ago they fermented mushrooms and different chemicals in honey, and I think that was like the origin of the honey thing. Um, I don't know. That's something you're gonna have to look into yourself. I don't know much about it, but I think that's the origin of the whole honey thing. And then Also, the Mad Honey you're speaking of, I think that's a different thing.
I literally worked with someone from Nepal and asked him about it, and he said it's cultural and they all eat it
I
down there.
heard. How do you?
On the website, yeah, I'll take one. Use
I
use
was
one
I
of
was
your
gonna
empty
ask
cans
you
for an ashtray.
if I could get a cigarette. I just realized I bought this.
Uh, but he's from Nepal, and he says, oh yeah, he says that, and I looked it up. It says eat like 2, 3 spoonfuls, and the room will start to glow and look
Really?
shiny and shit.
Holy shit!
And you'll feel a little bit. The guy at work said you feel dizzy and good because he's from Nepal. It's like, oh
When
yeah,
you
you feel so dizzy. I'm good or whatever. I'm not. But yes, so that's cool. Like I got to meet someone that's from that area and had the culture of
actually
eating it
vouched
and
for
shit
it,
like that. He
yeah.
vouched, yes, that's what I'm getting at. Someone
'Cause
vouched for it.
yeah, you can't believe anything online now. There's all kinds of naysayers, and then there's all kinds of disinformation, and then there's all kinds of lies and dissent and it's like fucking the internet's turning into like China, man,
Yeah,
where it's all, you know,
it was
I
all
tell people
controlled
about
in
a lot
China.
of
They had all their
things.
media controlled.
I tell people about a lot of videos and a lot of things that I seen years ago that I know I seen, but whitewashed.
Yeah, cool.
Even like like the definitions they give. If you go to Google for a definition, it
They'll
has
change it.
become so watered down and ridiculous. I mean, I've seen them actually use the word they're defining it, and you learn that in, like kindergarten. Never use the defining word
Oh,
or the
really?
word that you're defining
You seen
in.
this on Google definitions?
Yeah, I've actually seen them use words that they were defining in the actual like
Definition.
description or definition. Yeah. So I don't know. Just some
Talk
word
about a
or
stranger.
thought for food for thought. But
Well, one of
actually, I'm gonna
my
put this out. I
I'm
don't
a
smoke
I'm
much
a
anymore.
prime example of what we're talking about as one of my episodes has been pulled from the internet.
What?
I have a banned episode, and with pride.
Really?
They took one of mine off. Yeah,
What were
medical
you?
misinformation. They said
Really?
I have a strike
Oh,
on me
dude.
if because I can look at my analytics of my account and all the views and the charts that they have for you, and you can see how if people click on it because it appears or if they got it from you can see all that. And each video, like when I put this out, it'll have the bar and it'll say X
Wow.
amount of views, and it'll say each view estimated time for all the views is 15 minutes. If
There's
it's
a
2 hours, it'll just say like 15 minutes, which pisses me off. I'm like, they're just not watching it.
dude. There's that
What am
shadow
I
banning
saying?
thing.
So on my account, when I'm looking at that page, it says one strike for community guidelines. And I
So they
don't
took
know
it
when it
down
goes
completely.
away. Yeah, it's been there for like a year. I did a
Oh, I wonder if
podcast.
I watch. I bet you I watched
I
that one
did a
too.
pod. I have it on my computer. That's about all I can do with it.
What? That was when you were cleaning up and
With
getting.
no, with Animal G Bong,
Oh
Hero of the
wow.
Day broadcast.
That was the first podcast I was on. I don't remember a single fucking thing from that one, and that was in
Yeah,
a
because he
really
to tell
nasty
the
time
story.
for me, honestly.
Animal G Bong did his Hero of the Day broadcast out of his
Oh,
house, not
just
here.
like next
He
to
had his
me.
own show, and we would. He invited me on, and then I was like a special guest. I went on 3 times, and then Pat goes on his first ever podcast.
Did,
So fucking hammered
did I
that
pull
he's
a
like
knife on
making
him or
out.
something?
No, you're like tongue kissing the camera and shit.
Uh,
But the episode never got.
I'm
It
thank.
doesn't exist anywhere, so you
That's
guys
good.
can't see it. But he don't remember.
Somewhere, well,
He don't
it
remember
still
doing it.
exists somewhere, but it's
But I did 3 of them down there, and they were political basically. And then so he came on here and did one, and it got banned. And it's like I'm not
it's
talking
weird they
about it
let
because I
him.
don't want this one banned.
That's
But
weird they let him do his.
they banned him. That's
Oh,
why he
they
came
did.
on here. Yeah, Yeah, that's why he came on here because they banned him. I'm like, come
Because
on
his
my
hero
show.
is like AJ. You know what I'm talking about? He tries to be so. He even sounds like him.
Oh yeah, 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 yeah.
So,
Yeah,
yeah,
exactly.
yeah, he says a lot of the same stuff. But anyway, so I was getting to. Oh God, now I don't even know. I diverted
You're
from the
lost
main
in your
story.
story.
Yeah, I do that because I have ADHD and I'm really bad at just running on with the same top. Like,
Yeah, me too. I
I'll
can't
just
fucking.
run with a story and then I'll never have any kind of end or. So my whole life's a run-on story.
A run-on sentence.
Yeah, my whole life is
The
a
run-on
run-on
sentence. That's
sentence.
great, man. I
And it
like
even
that shit.
shows when I post stuff. Like people like GP, you know what I'm talking about? GP, one of SD's friends. This guy likes to criticize my grammar, as if you will. Even if I said something like very philosophic and beautiful, he'll be like, one thing I do know is that grammar is very important in society. And I'll be like, fuck, dude, for
Oh
real?
man.
Anyway, but
I
I'm
posted
trying to.
one selfie in the past year and a half maybe. I don't do those, but I posted one and I got made fun of.
By him?
I don't remember the
Oh.
dude.
I don't do selfies so
I
much
don't do
anymore. Yeah. I'm not picture perfect. I look like a Rastaman,
that.
you know. I did the bit like I don't know. I need to cut my hair. I'll probably go back to like the neo-Nazi looking guy. I, I shouldn't. Well,
It's
it's
a
too late
hairstyle.
anyway. Oh,
But speaking of Rastafarian, my birthday was recently, and my birthday
yeah,
is the same birthday as Bob Marley, which is fucking badass, man.
that is pretty badass. My friend is in Jamaica currently, and she just visited Bob Marley's. Like they have like an attraction where it's like you go visit his old home, but they roll you up like the biggest, fattest fucking blunt. And I mean, she said they gave her for like a couple bucks. They gave her so much fucking weed that she'll never be able to smoke it. And like, you know,
I used
I'm
to.
not trying to put her on blast either, but yeah, if you ever get a chance uh, to visit Jamaica, do the Bob Marley thing.
I actually
It's pretty
used to
cool.
work with someone that came from Jamaica too, and he said that the tourist areas are nice, but where he lived, he was poor, and he'd have to shoot an animal to eat that night. And he never
Uh,
knew when, so he moved. Because I was like, dude, you work like 70-hour weeks. And he told me that story, and he's like, I don't mind working 70-hour weeks. You know what I'm
mm,
used to for a life. He was kind of like,
okay.
you take this for granted, man. I'm packing this money in because that's not an option where I come from.
Actually, you got me one step closer to where I was going. I still don't know where I was supposed to be going, but routine. If
Yes,
anybody is
that's
trying
that's
to clean up their life, the whole I feel sick, man. I'm just gonna lie in bed, feel sick. You know damn well you're gonna lay there, you're gonna toss and turn, 20 different positions, rolling back and forth, and you're just gonna have these fucking thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts and thoughts, and you're just gonna want to use, and you're gonna feel crazy and sick. Rather than that, get up and fucking vacuum your carpet, man. Fucking scrub your kitchen. Organize the fucking noodles in the cupboard. If you don't have anything, go buy shit so that you can organize it.
if you don't have any
You don't have
noodles,
money, get a
man.
job.
If you don't have any noodles, man, you gotta fucking get some to organize,
Or at
man.
least go to the food bank. You don't have to get a job. I understand a lot of people. I have a
You
friend, he don't
should
like
if
the
you
whole work
can.
thing.
There's like if you got some kind of whatever, but exercise. exercise and get sunlight for the depression. But
Yeah,
the
sunlight's
routine,
very good for you.
you gotta have some kind of routine, and I never had one. I still don't.
Yeah.
I still am working on it. I have a
Well,
lot
that's the
of.
thing. You do one thing, then you do it the next day, and you keep doing it, and then you add on like layers. Before you know it, you have a whole routine that you're used to, and it's like nothing to continue with adding on to it. Just like riding my bike, I used to think it was like such a hassle, and when I didn't have a car for the longest time, um, and biking was a hassle, but then it got to the point where I loved it. Like I would bike to work and back. At nighttime, I would bike back, rain, sun, or shine. Like it felt like a car ride. It wasn't anything particularly special. So you can actually, through the behavior of actually repeating the process over and over, you can actually like get yourself to get used to anything, really.
Yeah, you'll get used to it. Like, and if you keep adding routine on top of routine,
Yeah,
you won't have time for the getting fucked up and
and that's
being
the thing.
nervous, and
Yes,
then that
yes.
that type of stuff will get in the way of your routine, and you'll be like, if you do resort to that, you'll get bored because you'll be like, dude, I wanted to do this, and now my head's not straight, and you'll start to change
hmm
completely to the inverse of what you were, or the reverse of what you were.
I don't know if I appear any better than I was before, and I'm not
You
claiming to
look
be
worse,
any
man.
better. I mean, I look hairy. I
I'm
look like a
joking. I'm
Rasta
fucking.
man. Anyway, uh,
Geeking
now
off
I
of
just
energy drinks, man.
yeah, I'm geek. I take a pre-workout.
Pre-workout, and
When
you got that shit from me.
the pro
Listen,
yeah,
people.
the problem is if you're already like super OCD and like kind of bipolar and stuff, and but like me, I have a hard time, getting the oomph, and I think it's like some kind of
I know the feeling.
OCD, agoraphobic thing. I don't like leaving the house. I'm very neurotic, and
Join
I
the
don't have a
fucking
problem
club.
admitting it because like who's gonna judge me? I don't really give a fuck. You judge me if you want.
I'm
Hopefully
very.
this helps
You know, you
somebody.
lived here with me for 2 years. I'm
Yeah,
fucking.
we're both neurotic as fuck.
Yeah, we belong in the fucking insane asylum.
Nah, I
That
wouldn't
is
say
my
that.
house.
We're
I called my house that at one point.
well,
No, I didn't mean to fucking include you in that statement.
I
But
mean, no,
I felt
I
crazy back
get what you're
then.
saying.
Crazy
I
shit
was
happened
crazy
here.
back then too, man. I still feel crazy, but there's people that rely on me to behave, and I don't partake in a lot of stuff that I would have before. And I was a lot more wild, and now I'm starting to believe that like routine, like we were talking about, is very important. And you know, cleanliness is a thing that might have to
Some
work on a little
sometimes those little
bit.
things like when you wake up and you're like, I didn't work yesterday. I don't work today.
Yeah,
I don't need a shower.
get a
Well, that
shower
little shit,
anyway.
take
Yep.
one. Fuck it, you don't need one, but
Or
then
need one, just get it.
and
Just take it.
I'm like do the sweatpants and sandals thing, which is fine.
Yeah.
But some days when you're feeling sluggish like that, if you put on nice clothes and shoes and socks in your house and shit like that and get a shower and stuff, you'll feel more awake. But my issue with the not feeling awake shit is I consume a lot of caffeine.
Mm.
But it's expected because of my
What goes up comes down, though.
exactly.
You know that.
Yeah, but this the caffeine's expected for what
Pre-workout,
I'm
though,
doing
dude.
for
I
what I'm
get
doing
that.
and what I've come off of and shit like
I
that.
get that exotic pre-workout. You know what I mean? Behind the
Oh
counter
yeah,
type shit.
DH, DMAA and
DMAA,
DHMA.
DHMA,
Mm.
DHAA, whatever
So
the
tell,
fuck
so
it
tell
is.
that story.
Oh God, dude.
That
No,
shit had
because
me
I don't want
laughing.
to out anybody specific. Dude, like, okay, there's these muscle heads, and they obviously take steroids, and they work at a shop far, far away, out of state. And you go there and you say, hey, look, man, you recognize me? And they're like, oh yeah, you're a dude, man. Hey, man, what the fuck's going on? And you'd be like, hey, man, do you got any of the DMAA or DMHA in any of those pre-workouts? I can't find it. Oh man, that shit's been, it's been
FDA.
banned. They stopped making it. And then you're like, damn, dude. And they're like, you know what? You're cool. Look, I got about 10 containers behind the counter. Or they'll look around and be like, look, man, I don't want any trouble, but I got about 10 containers behind the counter. And I'll be like, fucking, show me where the money is, bro. Fucking hand that shit out, bro. And I don't know, man. I don't think the DEA or what would it be? The
DMAA and the
No,
DHA.
the DEA is a three-letter organization, and
Oh
this is
yeah,
why
yeah,
I
yeah.
get so many fucking views because I'm dropping all this shit. Uh, but like I don't know if they actually FDA. I don't know if they actually
Yeah.
do censor this stuff stringently. I do know it's getting harder and harder to get, but from what I understand, and this sounds terrible, but like they're like the A stands for something obviously, and most of them are amphetamine derivatives or amphetamine analogs in a way. So, or they're like on the lattice work of like the chemical structure. So a lot of them through what they call the Analog Act, which happened a long time ago.
Was that with the spice?
Where because of Spice, I think, started it. Spice and that stuff that made people eat each other and stuff.
Bath salts.
Bath salts,
I don't know. You
all
guys
that
remember
shit.
the spice and the
Yeah,
bath salts and all
the
that?
guy that ate a cop's face, or the
Yeah.
cop shot a guy 10 times because he was eating the guy's face.
Cannibalism.
You got that guy to thank.
We're actually talking about real shit too.
Now
What is the
yeah,
fucking
we're not even,
thing?
this is the world we live in, man. If you don't live in this world, you don't have a fucking clue what we're talking about.
Literally fucking
But shit, man. Some of us live in a dirty ass world, bro.
bath salts eat
Some
flesh.
of us live in a pretty ass world.
But they had this spice that was like fake weed that you could buy at the corner store, and they made it from all these weird compounds, and it was giving people strokes and seizures and shit, and it was real bad for you. And they'd ban it, and then as soon as they banned it, they'd change one little chemical and put it right back out.
They would tweak it.
And they
It
kept
was
doing
called the
that.
lattice structure. They would tweak one molecule attached to it that didn't matter, and then it would change the whole. Sorry.
No, well, that's where they came up with the Analog Act.
Yeah,
It's from that
that's how it
spice.
started. Exactly.
And you're saying that's for with the pre-workouts and shit they're doing. They're using that.
Like so, yeah. So y'all might have heard of like LSD. Y'all might have heard of 1P-LSD. Well, it was kind of in a gray area for a little while, even when the Analog Act was going on, and that was the 1P was one a polyphenol, something like that, molecule attached to the uh, structure of the LSD 25, and it would break off during metabolism, and even if you tested it, it would be the right color if you tested it. So it actually did exist as LSD, just it had a molecule attached to it. But the people started doing shit like that, so they just said, fuck it. Anything close to it that makes you feel good or makes you feel a certain way, illegal. But it's getting harder and harder to find. And honestly, the pre-workout helps me wake up, but I could do without it. It's probably one of the things that's probably really diminishing my health.
I got some really like generic mediocre pre-workout without any kind of weird shit that you
Yeah.
can just buy at the store. I'm gonna go grab it real quick. See if you
There,
guys don't even know what the fuck we're talking about.
yeah, there are stuff with like natural, like vitamins and minerals and stuff like that that aren't illegal. And I'm not even saying this stuff's illegal or that I'm holding. Like,
So
for
this
all I know, they're probably gone by now. Like, I grabbed them a long time ago and probably got like 5 scoops left. But
this is pre-workout. I got some real mild shit, but what it is you open the lid, there's like this powder in it. You take this scoop. But here it's like Kool-Aid mix. But if you then you read the ingredients, right? And what you'll see is there's like a whole ton of ingredients. And so it'll say these are the ingredients per 1 scoop. I got like some other ones here. And can you even see that shit?
Mm,
Whatever sort of
they
and
probably
then
wouldn't even.
I got like this one. And that's got whatever that is per scoop. But what we're talking about per scoop could be like this one per 1 scoop is 400 milligrams of caffeine. If
400
and
milligrams
then
of caffeine is hardcore.
that 400 milligrams of caffeine is one of these many ingredients. So they got all kinds of slop in here to
Yeah.
get you lifting weights. That's what they make it for people to lift weights. Probably like huge people that do a whole big ass workout.
Yeah, and
Basically,
they
that
end
is
up
what they're
getting,
for.
like maybe addicted or they have a tolerance.
And so we take it instead of coffee. Basically.
We've been for a while. I'm trying to get off it. Like I'm doing 1 day on, 1 day off.
I use it when I go walk at the park now. And then like for work I'll use a normal energy drink, whatever's
Yeah,
cheapest at
yeah.
the store, I'll get a case of. And yeah, it might be a good idea to just do away with the caffeine. But for now, I don't know. I get headaches and I get tired if I don't have any caffeine and whatever. It is what it is. But I don't know if you guys didn't know what pre-workout is. I just thought the shit was cool because when I started lifting weights back in the day, I found this shit and I'm like, oh my god, Kool-Aid mix with tons of caffeine.
Yeah, you got me hooked on that, bro.
I quit lifting weights, but I kept taking the pre-workout.
You
But
just shake and be like, "Yo, you want some of this, man? Huh?" And I'm like, "How much, bro?" No.
so what we were talking about is these pre-workouts would have ingredients that the FDA banned, and DMAA and DMHA
Yeah,
are like they're like it feels like caffeine, but it's cleaner and it's stronger, and you can focus
yeah,
more. And so those were ingredients they had in these pre-workouts. So the banned ones will have like, 400 milligrams caffeine, 200 milligrams DMHA, 60 milligrams DMAA, and then all this other fucked up shit. And those were the ones they started to ban because people would get.
the very few that I bought up, towards the end, they all had these long ass names, and I'd be like, "What the fuck is that?" And they're like, "That's the DMHA," and I'd be like, "Oh, I see what they're doing. They're making it so that regular people can't even decipher what the fuck that even means."
Oh, telling the actual chemical
So
compound
then you
name.
actually need to know the chemical compound, and yeah, it's going its way pretty much, and probably for the better. Anything amphetamines probably not the best unless. I mean, I have a friend. She's prescribed, and it seems to work for her
What,
pretty good.
Adderall?
But yeah, like not. I don't want to
It's
put all that on
interesting a
blast,
person
but
that can, and maybe like because
she,
you're not supposed to take that much. I don't think, and I think the issue
I
with
think she's a healthy person.
I'm not. I'm anti Adderall. I'm gonna say, but
I am too.
that's fine if
Actually,
that's
I
what
am
works
too.
for.
Yeah, giving kids that as a drug, I don't believe in that at
At the
all.
age where you're in
Honestly.
high school, you should not be using Adderall, you're
I was
still
doing it.
forming your. You know what I mean? You're still
Yeah.
growing.
When I remember when I first was doing it, it was as a party thing, and that was many years ago.
I would do it to stay awake at parties.
Yeah, yeah.
Because everyone, when you're
But
kids,
then there
everyone's
was
got Ritalin and Adderall.
MDMA. MDMA was a big thing back then. It's hard to find real MDMA. Nowadays, they got all this crazy shit, and I don't even want to fuck around with stimulants, um, unless it's pre-workout, which is pretty much
I allow
going
myself.
its own
I allow
way.
myself energy drinks and pre-workout. I'm not going through my story of with the recovery episode again and all
Yeah,
that shit, but
yeah,
uh, all the use of stimulants and shit being clean. As for right now, I'm gonna allow myself pre-workout and energy drinks because
it helps.
I'm used to fucking being kind of half geeked out, and that stuff's not that. It's caffeine and shit. It's not that big a deal.
Yeah,
Caffeine is
there's
the caffeine is the most used psychoactive drug on the planet.
they
Like
say it's the most addictive
80% of
drug
all
too.
human beings on the planet use caffeine or some weird shit. I don't have the
Excuse
correct
me for a
numbers,
second.
but
I don't know
yeah.
if you want to pause it or I'm just gonna.
Ladies and gentlemen, subscribe to my channel, Crown of Thoughts. Hit the fucking subscribe button now, and you can keep watching more of this shit. I encourage you guys to pick up a copy of Blossom and Bone by Mary E. Young. Read it along with me. I just started, so it's like, read it along with me, and then she's going to come on the show later. And so this will be the first time I ever read a book and get to interview the author directly afterwards. And that'll be a fun experience. She mailed me an autographed copy of the book for free. And so that should be pretty fun. Never done that before. I'm not a big reader either. So I haven't read a book in a while. But hey guys, we're back. Just wanted to tell you to subscribe because that's what I'm supposed to tell you. I always was against it in the past. I'm like, they'll fucking do it if they want. I just did it. That was my first. Time to tell you guys to subscribe ever.
We call that a plug. You're
Plug.
plugging.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I
I
plugged
was in the
that book.
bathroom.
That book though.
So
But yeah, you think you'll get a copy and read
I
it,
think
and
yeah.
then
I think it sounds like a very interesting idea.
I'm through the first 3 chapters. It's pretty
Plus,
good, pretty damn good.
it'd be cool to actually know the story before she comes on and actually see who wrote it.
I always
Yeah,
wondered because
definitely.
writing a whole entire book, could you even imagine? That's kind of like what I'm really curious about. How do you do that?
I was talking about how people ask me to write books. Well, it's not like a frequent thing. I'm not trying to toot my own horn or sound narcissistic or like whatever. But I have had like really intelligent people in the past say like, Weaver, you're fucking crazy. You need to write a book, man. That's crazy. Like, like sincerely telling me I should write a book. I'm good with. The thing is, I tell drunken stories very well, but I'm.
Neighbors,
Oh,
I
that's
think.
neighbors. Yeah, but I'm. I don't know. I'm trying to steer away from being super drunken anymore, and I think that's when I tell my best stories.
That's the
I
problem with
can.
quitting drinking is there's like it. It's so much easier to talk to people. It's so much easier to like let go and tell, like you're saying, tell crazy stories and shit. And then
Yeah.
the with quitting, for me, there was a lot of anxiety because I didn't have that. But after a while, like I don't feel that anymore. When I first quit, I couldn't. I slept like for all day for like 2 weeks. I would get out of bed. and have no energy. And I read about it, and that's your body healing itself
Uh,
afterwards.
and you told me about the whole glutamine thing. Um,
Yeah, the what causes seizures? Seizures, the glutamine.
well,
So glutamine. So coming off of alcohol, so when you drink alcohol, it boosts your GABA. You know what GABA is.
no.
GABA is your relax hormone. It makes you relax and feel comfortable. And when you come down off of alcohol, it's like a seesaw and it tips. And so it shoots your glutamate. That's just what we're trying to figure out or trying to remember. What
Yeah,
the stress hormone that fucking caffeine hits and all this.
I
It
know.
might be glutamate. If it's not, then it's some other thing, and you know what I'm still trying to say. But that shoots up, and when that shoots up, it can cause you to have seizures because it gets you too excited and this and that. And that's how people, when they come off, of people that drink hardcore, when they come off, and they can go into seizures. And the same with the Xanax and stuff like
Yeah,
that, because
yeah.
something that gives you that much GABA, as soon as you come off it, it doesn't just go to normal. It's like bam, swings, and then
Uh,
you get too much stress hormone that you can't contain it. And
like,
and with the, and also sorry, with real quick, with withdrawal from alcohol, like if those people that drink like a whole bottle and they're shaking and shit, when they quit, their blood pressure can shoot up so high. Their blood pressure can shoot up super high because their body can't replenish the GABA fast enough. And so they've run the risk of that plus the seizures.
I
Shit, you can
remember.
die. You can die. It's the only fucking thing you can die withdrawing from.
I know they put in the more extra strength, like sleep aids, which I end up having to take those towards the nighttime
GABA.
to be able to sleep. GABA
They put
is in
GABA
there,
in
and
them.
that's an amino acid. It's like something amino acid. Uh, you know what? I'm not going to speak on it because I don't know a lot about it. Somebody might be like, "This is ridiculous." You know what you're talking.
Well, they're watching it still. Why are you still
Yeah,
watching it,
yeah. Why
guy?
is so?
why don't
I
you why don't you
sacrilegiously.
help us out and comment and tell
Yeah,
us we're not scientists?
dude, that'd be cool if we did that. No, I sacrilegiously picked up my phone for a second because the number I recognize is fucking nothing. But I was saying about glutamine, maybe it kind of saved me from actually talking about it because I was actually going to go into detail about it. But now I realize I don't really even know much about it. I just remember when I was going through that phase where I finally like I was really addicted to like these street benzos that I ended up acquiring like years and years ago. And now they're all over the news. But I mean this was before this was even a thing. And they were like they they were sold to me as 3 milligram like green fucking school buses, really big things, and I could tell they were pressed, and I'd be
The,
like, "Do these
the
got fentanyl in them?"
Incredible Hulk or
Yeah, they were
whatever.
called Incredible Hulks. I was like, "Do these got fentanyl?" He's like, "No." I'm like, "How do you know, bro? You said they're not pressed." He's like, "Okay, they're pressed." What do they got fentanyl? I don't want to be taking no fentanyl. No, they got fentanyl. And then here I'm like burning holes in my fucking sheets, and like we're trying to watch a movie the one night, and I felt so bad because
Taxi driver it
I
was.
kept falling asleep like doing the nod thing, and I was like, oh, they do have fentanyl. But I had gotten so many, and fentanyl's so addictive, and I used to have a past with it that uh, I ended up like indulging in them for a little bit, and um, man, I kind of went overboard with it, and I was blacked out and burning holes and shit, and thank I'm very thankful I got away from those. And I don't know, man. If you mix any opiates with benzos, that's like the worst concoction you could ever
Well,
do.
I remember I was like, dude, your medication is really fucking you up. I'm like,
Yeah,
you're like, I didn't know if maybe you were blacking out and weren't aware of how fucked up you were. But I was like, whatever you're doing, and it was you were saying it was your Xanax
yeah.
were not real ones. They were
They were
pressed with
the
fentanyl
press
or some
ones.
shit. And it's like,
They're becoming actually really popular now. The cartels putting them out, and they're actually the little anybody that takes those Percocets with the M on. They used to like now rap songs have them all over the place. Uh, they're not real, dude. They're fentanyl laced fucking some kind of cartel concoction that they're putting out nowadays, and people are dying all over the fucking place. Same with the fucking Xanax. And if you don't believe me, just fucking take a walk down most streets in Kensington, Philadelphia, right here in Pennsylvania, where we're at. Like, well, we're not in Kensington, but um, yeah, that shit's killing people, man. Um, and
it's like a combo of fentanyl mixed with
kinds of shit.
some kind
Who
of
knows what's
tranquilizer, and
in
all
it?
those
Yeah.
people in Kensington are they, these in Kensington. There's people just flooding the whole street, all fucked up off this shit. It's like a
I hate watching it.
phenomenon that's not seen anywhere else in the
Oh, man, it gives
country.
me fucking chills, dude. Yeah.
But it's a specific thing. It's not like just like a dope or some shit I never even heard of.
Well,
I just talked to someone recently that had been there.
I've
I was
heard
literally
they were coming from China at first, and apparently now the cartel's producing them in mass quantities. But they did actually shut down a huge cartel, like fentanyl lab that was pressing them. So hopefully that puts a fucking dent in that whole thing. But
well, what we're
um,
trying to say is be careful and probably don't do this shit to begin
definitely
with.
be careful.
But if you are, a lot of shit out there right now, like even fucking stimulants, they're sticking fentanyl in and shit. Like your
Oh yeah, everything.
shit's the shit's
They're
dangerous,
putting
man. That shit
fentanyl
can
in
kill
everything.
you.
Um,
But yeah,
and there's other shit, dude. Man, I could tell you. I don't even want to talk about this Chinese crazy powder I seen somebody on. Like, dude, I don't know, man. It's some weird ass shit the Chinese are coming up with. Not to sound like a conspiracy theorist, but I've seen it for myself infiltrate like the drug market, and I'm trying to stay out of the drug market. To be honest, I'm trying to live a better life these days, more sober minded. I still drink a good bit, but the other day I drank a bunch of liquor and was kind of retarded for about two
you're
days.
not allowed.
Dude, yeah, I'm not even allowed to drink it at my house no more. As of a long time
I
ago, but
don't
I
know
did it
why.
anyway.
I
Yeah,
don't
I
know
don't know
why
why.
they tell me no liquor
Well, I did.
for whatever reason.
I broke like half my room by accident with
Broke
one
your room.
fall. Yeah,
What do you
that's the
mean?
best way I can say it.
You put a
Um,
hole in the
for
wall,
some
or
reason, okay, so I got a bunch of money from PUA. I'm not gonna get into all that because whatever, it's my business, whatever. But I had bought a really expensive bong, which was, I was so irrational at the time period that I thought I was gonna be able to like sell the bong uh, because there was only like it was a one of a kind. So I thought like, well, I'll just use it and then clean it and then just fucking resell it and make my money back. And like, I don't think there's a fucking huge market on secondary bonds. Like, you know, I spent way too much for this fucking thing. And
You're probably right.
I sat it right in the middle of my coffee table, which, you know, like, I'd only get it out at nighttime when everybody's in bed.
The one that had the Rick and
But
Morty
dude,
spinner thing.
oh no, that was a long time ago. But no, long story short, I was drinking like y'all remember when I was drinking those buckets of somebody commented the gas station ones. Maybe I was drinking the gas station
Fireball.
fireballs, but a lot of time it was the ones from the liquor store, and I would drink like a whole 20 pack of those things, and I would be so belligerent. I'd be trying to fight people that are friends and love me, and just like belligerently yelling at them, and I'm trying to keep it calm, and then like apparently one night I'm like, fuck this shit, I'm stomping off in my fucking room, you know? So I like literally when I went to step, I have a curtain separating my room right now. Um, and I stepped on that and tore the whole curtain down and swung my arm out to try to catch it and then knocked over a TV, a $300 TV. The TV smashed, and then I landed on my face and I busted a $1,800 bong,
Oh my.
and there's a few other things broken all in one shot. Oh, I knocked over my whole shelf with like every single medication that I had, and fucking dude, like
I
I
bet
wrecked
there's
my
like a whole
room
whole
all
fucking
in one
pharmacy.
fall. In my one fall. Well, a lot of it was like old medications that I was taking that, like if I ever need to take it again, it's there. Like stupid stuff like blood thinners or like, you know. But I mean, there was stuff everywhere. Yeah, it was trash. And then I was just like, no, get the fuck out of here. I'm going to sleep. I'll deal with this shit in the morning. And
It's
then I
just all.
woke up and I was like, I was mad. I was like, who the fuck destroyed my fucking room while I was asleep, you fucking assholes? And they're like, yo, Pat, chill. You don't remember? Like, you got shit faced drunk and trashed your room. And it's stories like these that, you know, make me want to do better and feel like I don't deserve to be in the presence of other people that I care about unless I do better. And if I don't do better, then maybe I deserve to be alone for the rest of my life. Who knows? I'm lucky enough to have friends that aren't that easy on giving up on people, but uh, you know, I feel like I can push people away pretty easy. I'm pretty good at that.
Yeah, I've done. I am too, and it's usually shit like you're saying, fireball.
I mean, we were talking about the glutamine thing, the GABA, and I remember like when I was doing those, you were like coming to me with like information you have read, and you're like, yo, look, man, you shouldn't be doing this because like this is what's gonna happen. This is what's going on with you when you're sick, when you're coming off the stuff. And I took it as like my glutamine levels was like kind of like a seesaw type thing that was like a control panel for different chemicals in my body, and it was just basically going haywire. So was my mind. Like my mind was super stimulated and on fire. So I mean, I had a seizure at one point at another house. So around that time, I ended up kicking back on a whole lot of stuff, man. Like soon here, I'm gonna be on here like bright-eyed, bushy-tailed, clean,
Better each
completely.
time. That's I'm on here better each time. It's the same shit. You know
Yeah,
what I mean? When I watch through the episodes, I can see it's very helpful watching these, man.
yeah,
Analyzing yourself. But the thing about the glutamate and the GABA, so I'm epileptic, And so reading more about this, I realized, so I
Mhm.
take anticonvulsants, Keppra and Lamictal, and I used to take Depakote.
Mhm.
Dropped the Depakote and switched to Keppra, which made me angry. Actually, it made me violent and angry. So they had to. What they did is they took the Keppra and they lowered the dose as far as they could, and they added Lamictal. Lamictal is a happy pill. It like makes you smile all the time and shit. And they upped the dose on that as far as they could. It's like 200 milligrams twice a day of Lamictal, 500 milligrams twice a day Keppra. That's what I do now. What reason I'm saying this? Okay, so I'm epileptic,
Yeah.
and that means my cortisol's through the roof, and
Mhm.
my GABA's down, and so this stuff, this shit. So anticonvulsants are also used for bipolar, and they're mood stabilizers. So I'm stabilizing the fucking mood and the hormones and shit in my head, so that I don't go into seizures because epileptics left by themselves with no meds just go into seizures until they get brain damage. God knows what.
Yeah.
But so your benzos, your Xanax, Klonopin, amine,
Any
whatever the fuck.
benzodiazepines
Yeah, any of that
is
and
fine,
alcohol.
and
When
alcohol.
you come
Yes.
down off of that stuff, it does the exact same thing to your brain as it does as
Explicitly.
I
Yep.
am as an epileptic. Went through the research, I paralleled both conditions, and also when I watched what you went through the one day
You
coming off
seen
the Xanax, your jerky movements were the exact
jerky,
same.
and I'd be like, like I would, yeah.
It's exactly the same as when if I don't take my meds. And anyone out there is epileptic. And,
Or
they're
yeah,
epileptics go through a lot of shit. It's
I
all
had to
under the
watch that.
surface that nobody sees. And I've watched videos and shit of people sharing their stories of dealing with epilepsy. There's all kinds of actually. There's a gadget you can have implanted in your skin that shoots electronic signals into you, so you don't have to take meds.
Wow, dude.
There's fucking. I watched videos about it, man. The one guy's
Have you
like,
considered something like that?
I, no, it looked
No.
no. Well, because these people that had these implants that would send these signals to keep them from going into seizures, and they all had stories where they're like, I was fine ever since. But these are people that the
Yeah.
medications wouldn't work on. No matter how much meds they took, they still went into seizures. I'm controlled by my meds. I don't go into seizures. So there's no point for me to explore that option. It's just, I don't want to implant some fucking thing in me. And it's probably expensive.
I noticed when you would drink all night with me, the next day you would go through that.
Yeah. And that's why
And
epileptics aren't supposed to drink.
it's weird that I recognize the same kind of emotions and symptoms, and you recognize the same thing in me because you're like, I live that. I know exactly what he's going through. So, like, you actually, and this is one of the things that made me real, among hundreds of other things, this is one of the things that made me realize you're one of my best friends and closest friends and caring people. Like, you actually did some one morning you must have woke up early and did extensive research, and you like gave me this wealth of knowledge that I did not know anything about, that gave me some other rabbit trails to follow and learn. And like, you were right, man.
Well, when you see someone you care about, and especially living with them and watch them go
Yeah.
throughout their life and their day, and it's like maybe a lot of times it's a little bit of knowledge about what you're doing and what's happening is helpful in order to um, prevent it or whatever,
Yeah.
you know. But
You
yeah, I don't like to see people go through issues like this because I've gone through them, and it's like you're it's like you're suffocating under a sheet of ice in the ocean, Like you're under the ice trying to break through to the top, and you can't do it. And so when someone else like smashes the ice and maybe reaches their hand down, it's like, oh my God, what am I doing? It's like, yeah, I don't know. You don't know what you're doing. I'm just like saying, tapping you on the shoulder, that type of shit.
No, you help lead the way to. Um, I wouldn't say sobriety because I have not really. I can't claim that. Um,
But you
Somewhat sober a lot of the time, but
sometimes
still
you
have an
find
addiction.
yourself in some weird place in your head and
Yeah.
you don't know how you got there. And because I used to go to this one bar all the time, and the bartender kind of, if you're a barfly, the bartender kind of becomes your therapist.
Yeah.
And, and she kind of, so she had known my entire life story at this point. I was a barfly there, and she would tell me shit. And she kind of like tapped me on the shoulder and was like, "Dude, you are fucking in some rabbit hole right now. Like, wake up." And it helped.
Yeah.
I was like, "Bam, what?" And then there would only be more of those wake ups as I went along. So when I look back, I see how far gone I was at that time, and it's insane. And maybe that's kind of what you're talking about.
I don't know if I've ever helped you. I've always had the best intentions with you,
Well,
like
we
helping you,
just
but
said you saved
you,
my ass
you
during that shrimp trip. That's
well,
one thing
yeah,
for
but
sure.
you've always reached out and helped me in my worst times, and
Well,
that
you're one of
makes a
them
big
only
difference.
people that like if I'm
But
fucked up in the head and I call you and I just dump a whole bunch of shit like 45. You look at your phone. We've been on the phone 45 minutes, and
yeah,
I dump a whole bunch of shit. You listen.
yeah,
There's not many people like
I'll
that.
drop everything and be like, no, man, I need to talk to my friend. He's going through some shit.
And
I'll
you
talk
need
to you
you
later.
everyone like if you don't have one or two people that you can dump on here and there, life can be pretty difficult.
You need to find people you love and that care, and you know they care, that you can rely on. They got to be reliable, and you need to treat them good, and know they're always going to be there for you, and you're always there for them.
And shit comes back around.
Yeah, I mean that's it should be human nature. It seems like these days it's like a forgotten art.
I don't know how some people do it to where they're so mean to each other. I don't know. I kind of know where it comes from because I started, speaking of psychology, I started going down that route to figure out what happens in your head
Yeah,
because anyone can become a horrible, evil piece of shit. Anyone. It's like a path you go down in your head. But in starting to learn about that, I'm like, fuck, this is too dark. I don't want to know anymore at all. But it's just like it
yeah.
baffles me how some people can be. And but like what you're saying and what I'm saying about being there for each other and shit, like everyone in this world, like you can't do it alone. And like for me, I'm don't have like a traditional family type shit. I live alone, and that's kind of like I think for someone like me and someone like you, that's where like having some friends like that that you can dump on is actually it's extremely necessary
Yeah.
because I don't have a wife to dump on, and if I did, she'd probably be sick and tired of my shit anyway.
Yeah. Well, that's why I'm single,
And
probably.
I'd be like, it'd be like one of those. I imagine so if I would get married again, and it would last a long duration, let's say 5 years, we'll go with that number. I could imagine myself one morning, she's sitting across, it's breakfast, and she's eating cereal, and I can just hear this. And I'm looking across the table like, I hate this bitch. I fucking hate this bitch, dude.
Dude, it's easy to get on your bad side sometime. I will say that.
Oh
Um,
man.
but same with me
I'm
too.
not, I've never had
Everybody's
a
like that.
relationship last that fucking long though. I see some people do it and they like grow into each other, I
Yeah,
guess, and then whatever, fuck.
and they just deal with.
Interesting though.
That is
Interesting.
interesting.
But me being the way this, like I get super creative and kind of manicky and got all these ideas and stuff like this podcast and other shit. And if there was someone else, I don't know, the lifestyle that I have being based off of my situation is really good. And so it would be something. It's almost like to have like a real relationship. I'd have to fit that in
Yeah.
because I got a lot going on. So it would be like it would be a whole change, a lifestyle change. I guess it would be for anyone. But it's just weird. I've never had that type of thing. You know, when I hear someone say they've been married for like 15 years, I'm like, I don't know what that fuck that means. Like I've had relationships, but I think the longest was 3 years. That one was 3 years, and that was a long time.
These are different times, man. I don't know.
It's like my parents did the whole.
Divide and conquer. Whole. Not to get into conspiracy shit again, but
It's not.
seems like it seems like the way it is now, like divide and conquer.
Oh yeah, because how people
like,
act nowadays, it's just like.
Everybody wants to be enemies.
But about the conspiracy theory, it's not just because you use the term conspiracy theory that does not. That's people use that term to discredit.
Yeah.
The theory of people conspiring that you are about to talk about. It's like, yeah, a conspiracy theory is a theory I have about a bunch of people conspiring. And like that doesn't that's fine. Those are good things to have theories about that. Like when someone says conspiracy theory, they picture you being crazy. And I think that's another conspiracy theory in of itself.
Yeah. Well, I mean, that's in the handbook, bro. I mean, there are literal handbooks on how to social engineer, and that's part of it. But the whole idea of separating people by races, ethnicity, like their religions, ideologies, and all this, and making them kind of like enemies, and then you get like a talking head that's representing these people, and then another one representing these people, and then they just like, and
everyone starts to turn on
everybody
each other.
ends up confused, and
It's mob mentality.
The problem is, if you hear something that sounds reasonable, and you're like, oh, well, I mean, I should look into that. Do some research on your own. Like, that's where intelligence comes from. Intelligence is when you can actually, like, uh, research stuff on your own. Like, don't take for granted, like, don't take what somebody says as a conspiracy theorist um, and discredit it because somebody else says, oh, that's a conspiracy theory. Look at them as, well, maybe they have a point, so maybe I should research that and figure out on my own. Because if you're not figuring it out on your own or looking into it on your own, then you're just taking somebody else's word. And who's to say the guy over here is right or the guy over there is right? I mean, how do you know? Unless you've looked into it for yourself. So,
And people need to, when you have like a conversation about something like that, you do not need to be arguing.
yeah.
You can be like thinking and pondering about what the person is saying. And here's an issue with, so it wasn't like it was a couple of people, but with the last podcast I did with Chad Johnson, we basically discussed Christianity and the Bible for the whole podcast in an open minded way. And I honestly made sense of Christianity by the end of the podcast, the concept of it and what its purpose is. I'm probably agnostic. I'm not saying I believe the Bible in its literal form, but what it does for society and how it holds things together and this and that and the other. And we watched that episode. Obviously, we talked about
Yeah.
it for a while if you really want to know. But when I get people saying something like, oh, didn't really, I didn't want to hear a Bible study, or I didn't want, you didn't
Mm,
listen, you're
yeah.
not listening to what we're saying, and you're not being open minded. And the thing that bothered me is because people don't listen to Christians generally because they're viewed as closed minded. Christians are. And
Yeah.
the irony of that whole situation was that after pondering and asking questions and shit, I realized that it actually has a purpose and it actually does something for society. And it's actually kind of like what you're saying about, like when I was talking about not relationships falling apart and not sticking together anymore, and you're saying that divide and conquer and shit. That's Christianity's actually fights against that in a sense.
Oh
Now,
yeah.
if you take it literal, this is the thing. I'm not taking it literal. You know, there was the Crusades. There was this, that, the other, and
Yeah.
so don't just fucking throw bullshit lines at me if you want to. Or if you want to argue about it, or you don't like Christianity and shit, like that's not my problem. But what I'm saying is just what I said. You know, I don't take
I
it
think
literal.
some of it can probably be taken literal, but it's probably uh well, it's probably it's historically, if you listen to the scholars talk about it. Well, first off, like the Bible itself, I don't want to get into the whole thing about this, but that's been translated from like what, it's been translated like through like 4 or 5 languages, and then you have different kings deciding to keep out this book and change this book and all this and that. And there, I read when I was in the pen, I read a whole lot of other books, like something I suggest people read, which is going to be amazing. It reads like a freaking UFO story, but like a really long one that's very interesting. It'll be fun to read, and it'll give you something to think about. Is the books of Enoch. Um, and there's a lot of very solid shit in there, like mathematics and astrology and all this other stuff that couldn't have possibly knew that at that time period. And he had a story that was pretty phenomenal, which actually like kind of lead me towards the idea of Christianity, or that idea, that lineage, and some of the stuff that was going on. Christianity is basically um, a religion built around Jesus Christ, who Christ is a title, but he didn't even want a religion. He didn't even like religion. He didn't like the idea of religion. He just taught a whole bunch of like ideology and how people should act and be, and said what he wanted to say. And dude, the guy got rowdy a few times, which I respect. I mean, if you get rowdy over opinions you believe in, like, dude was tossing tables, like fucking poking people in the chest and shit. Like, he believed in what he believed in, and he highly disliked religion. And after like hundreds of years after his death, this is conjecture. Don't ask me. I'm not a religion like expert, but they kind of formed a religion called Christianity after Jesus Christ, which is a title, Christos or whatever. Um, but like he never wanted a religion. Catholicism, he didn't like like they worship the Virgin Mary, which yeah, I don't know.
Man, I think like growing up in a Christian fundamentalist household, like evangelical, I guess, and then going to church as a child and this and that, and then there was Catholicism, there was
Hmm.
Catholics, and like it's like Catholics are like the fucking cousin of Christianity, but they don't believe in the New Testament, I think. Or no, wait. What am
Uh,
I talking
the Old Testament would have been like
the Jews,
the Jewish. Yeah.
the Jewish,
Jewish, they believe in the Old
Judean,
Testament.
yeah, they believe in the Old Testament. The Catholics,
Which
that's actually
Christianity
my
does
point is
too.
I don't know much about Catholicism,
Christianity believes in the Old Testament as well.
but yeah, so I actually just thought about that. Why don't I fucking learn something about that shit?
Yeah, if you want to be, if you want to talk shit,
I always thought
educate yourself
Catholicism was like
on
the
different
fake ass
religions.
version of Christianity with all this rituals and shit.
Dude, there was a oh
It's the
man,
Sega Genesis,
um,
and Christianity's the Super Nintendo.
Jews have the Kabbalah, right? Is that true?
I have
Or is
no
that
idea.
like?
We're getting beyond my knowledge.
All right, well, we don't got to go too far into this. You and I probably sound pretty dumb at this point with this. Maybe not. I don't know. But there was a gentleman that was very, very polite, and I said, "Look, man, I've never actually read the Kabbalah. Can you maybe lend it to me for a couple days?" And I look at it, and I read quite a few chapters, and he was a really cool dude. Um, and but that's the thing. When I was in there, it's either watch Jerry Springer. I'm talking about prison, of course. It's either watch Jerry Springer all day and listen to everybody shouting like, "Yeah, that bitch, fuck her, man. She be fucking some other dude." Blah blah blah. Or you go back to your bunk, try to sleep, which doesn't work because all that stimuli around you, you're not falling asleep. Then you go do some art, draw some stuff, maybe you draw some cool shit and somebody wants to trade you a bag of coffee for it. Man, that shit. If you can get that hustle going, man, you probably do it all day. Couple bags of coffee will get you far, you know what I'm saying? But
I bet coffee's all the rage.
dude, the coffee's a shit, dude. I never liked coffee before jail or after jail, but I drank like 6, 7 cups of coffee every day in jail. Like
I
every
can
day.
imagine, man.
I would be constantly drinking coffee, man. And if you had creamers and sugars, yeah. But back to my point though, like unless you actually read and try to understand different books and don't understand them in the way that like somebody has translated the stories that came before them and used their best ability to write it down verbatim. Think about it, maybe it's an abstract story or it's like an allegorical story or like I've looked at stuff as maybe it's solid, maybe it's abstract, maybe it's allegorical, and I've gone through several religious books from several religions.
Did you ever read the Quran?
Yeah,
You did?
some of it.
Some of it?
Yeah, some of it. Not all of it. I read the Bible a few times. Um,
I've never read the Quran,
the
man.
Bible sounds crazy if you read it all. Like,
I've read the whole Bible. Obviously, you know, not like just at once or nothing. But I mean, I did chronologically read it at one point in life, but it was
yeah.
like I skipped parts that were boring. But it
Well,
was like a very, very hard read. And it's not just like I don't know those words, it's like that sentence just said a lot. So it's like not a book you can read through very fast.
yeah, there's a thing. Like there were several times in my life where I was going through different phases. Severe addiction, not so addicted, a child. Like after addiction, thinking about things abstractly. after I did LSD a few times, and uh, anybody that's done that, you understand. You can kind of think about things a little different, like abstractly. You know what I mean?
Bird's eye
Hopefully
view.
you do. If you don't, I ain't saying go do LSD. I'm saying you don't know your, you
You
don't know
don't know
anything
what you're
about it, and that's
missing.
all right.
You haven't used half your brain.
I don't suggest people go out and do LSD, but you can learn something from reading the same book over and over and over in different phases of your life, and it could mean something totally different every time you read it. And that's something I notice about the Bible and different books. And then there's something called the canon, which is the books that they allow in the Bible over time. And the original Bible was way different than the Bible here, the Bible there, the Bible here, the Bible there. Whoever was king or ruler at the time, they changed up the books, threw out books, put in books. Um, it was forever altered until stands as it is today. But you have access to the other books, most of them.
There's the Apocrypha.
Yeah, the Apocrypha.
You know
Is
anything
that
about
yeah?
that?
Yeah, that has the Book of Mary, Book of Judas.
Hmm.
Doesn't have the apostles' books, like they wrote books, I believe.
It's
A
like
lot of them,
the,
yeah.
you know how
Yeah, I read a few of them.
between Mario 1 and Mario 2 there was the lost levels,
Yeah, it's
you
like the
know?
Lost Levels, dude.
But
Yeah,
it
there's
wasn't
so much
released.
fruit.
It wasn't released in between those, but it was the lost
Yeah,
levels. That's the Apocrypha. It wasn't they didn't
dude,
drop the Apocrypha at the same time, or they edited out the
it's
Apocrypha from the original Bible.
dude. The thing is, the information in those stories are so
It's a little
like
weirder.
it almost contradicts in a
That's why
way,
they
and
took it
some of
out.
it actually goes with. But there is a fact, like
Some of it are
at the time, it was a tool. Christianity was a tool to be able to control man. So they wanted everybody to be under one rule of Christianity. So they conquered, and this is the way it is. But they didn't want females to have any say in
in
any
what
of the
they
way
do.
things go on. The men, we're gonna fucking pick and choose. Fuck
Now
you.
that would be my
And
biggest
so,
criticism of the Bible and Christianity would be that basically the way it seems when you're reading it, and but is the thing with women not having as much, I don't know what you'd say, but I think that's how the archaic people lived back then. That's how they were, right or
uh,
wrong. Like I don't think the Bible, see, I don't believe it the same way. I just think it's a bunch of stories of shit that happened and ways to so when it says like in the Old Testament, when it says like some dude has like fucking 300, what's it when the girls like
virgins,
concubines,
concubines.
and it's like I don't think the Bible's saying that that's a good thing. I think it's just describing what was happening.
Well, there's like King Solomon, right? Wasn't that one of Jesus' best friends? It seems like Jesus picked people that were like the most impure, like crazy as fucking wild ass motherfuckers.
Maybe he just had a good
And he
time
was
hanging
like,
out with scumbags.
yeah, well, that, like, he befriended a bunch of scumbags. If you think about it, um, one of them was a prostitute,
Jesus
Mary,
is like
not
these
his
other
mother,
people can't hang.
the other Mary. One of his best friends was a prostitute. And another one of his best friends was a king who loved his women a lot. And he was like a freak. Um, so like, I don't know, man. Like, if you're gonna judge religion, maybe you should fucking, before you decide to open your mouth, maybe you should try to understand it for yourself. And if you can't understand it, either you're not as intelligent as you should be, or you're superiorly intelligent, or you have a complex. and then maybe then gives you the right to judge somebody. But in my belief system, I feel I don't have the right to judge anybody. If somebody wants to believe in something, damn, go ahead, man. If you believe in it that hard, you must know something I don't,
That's
and
kind
I
of my
appreciate it.
point.
I'll usually listen to them.
Is like everyone will agree that everyone should be able to believe what they choose and this and that, and then for whatever reason you bring up Christianity and that flies right out the window, and it's like you believe that, blah 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 blah, and it's like there's this weird thing, and as if it's hurting something. There's
Yeah,
this thing in society. It's like as if it's hurting anything. Like I like there are. I'm not going that. I'm not going there the whole way, but there is a religion that's at least the fundamentalists of it are doing horrible things right now, but it's not Christianity.
yeah.
And like I don't know, man. I just think like freedom of speech, man. I just like that. If you want to talk shit, say the fucking F word a million times, be ridiculous and obnoxious. I'm all for you being allowed to do that. And the
If I
voice, I'm
stub,
not hearing the voice of these religious types. Like, they should be able to do that too. That's kind of my point. If you're going to say something, mean it. If
yeah,
you're going to say freedom of speech or people should be able to believe what they want, you fucking mean that.
they should be able
It's
to.
like you only mean that for certain things.
Like if I stub my toe really hard, I'm like, God damn, and somebody's like, oh, don't speak the Lord's name in vain. Usually I rebuttal as like, I ain't really swearing at God. It's just something that I've learned to say after a long period of time of a lot of people around me saying the same thing. I don't really want a damn God. Like that's
Figure of
I feel
speech.
he's yeah, it's a figure of speech. But yeah, maybe watch your tone. I don't know.
Yeah, I don't
But
know. Jesus
also,
fucking Christ, Pat.
yeah,
Chill
right?
out with the fucking, vulgarities.
I know. I'm a bad boy. But, if I am a bad boy, I'm gonna be taught a lesson sooner or later. It's not for you to fuck teach me a lesson.
None of your goddamn business.
And go ahead, try to teach me a lesson, motherfucker. Not really. I don't fuck with guns no more. I was getting at the
We're
ATF
both sitting here
bullshit.
like, so
Anyway, no, like, dude,
I got carrying permit.
no, well, I don't know anything about. I didn't know. I don't know nothing about that.
I was joking.
Whatever you're talking about. But I'm
But see,
myself and search me any day of the week. Anyway, fucking. Um, I think as somebody, if they really want to get deep and understand what this life's about and why they're here and all that type of stuff, read as much religious, uh, you might call it propaganda or books or information as possible, and then decide on your own. In my case, I took a lot from a bunch of different information that I learned, and then I kind of have my own solid beliefs, which would take like 5 to 10 hours for me to explain, which ain't gonna happen. Sorry, that's for me.
dude, they want it. They want the 5 to 10 hour episode.
Oh, maybe we'll get it, huh?
We just don't have it in us to give it to them.
They'll have like 2 views.
My
2 views.
analytics will be terrible. That's why the YouTube shorts are supposed to help. I want to do that because that's supposed to help the podcast get out there because people don't have the patience. A YouTube short's only allowed to be like 1 minute. I don't know how it works.
I don't
I'll
know.
figure it out.
Isn't
Like,
that like TikTok or like
yeah, shit like that.
Instagram?
Yeah, and
Shit.
people click on that and it's short. So when I got a video that's 2.5 hours and it says your average person watches like 20 minutes
Damn,
of it,
we're on 20.
then it's like
Shit.
then it's like it fucks up it fucks up the way YouTube will put your shit out there if people are watching it. Now, if your videos are so long that someone can't get through it, it fucks it up, and YouTube thinks you're not making good shit. You see what I mean?
Hmm.
And so that's what happens. What the fuck am I talking about? That's why those
No, I get
YouTube
what
shorts are
I
supposed to help.
understand. Yeah.
Guys, I will admit, so my buddy made an entire fucking tray of brownies. And then he had scooped the whole fucking, after selling them, there was this whole shit in the tray still. He scraped it all down, scooped it up like this much brownie dust, and I ate it all before I went to pick you up, to be honest with you.
Today?
Yeah, and so we started the podcast, and I was golden. Right now, I'm fucking toasted right now. Like as we went through the podcast, I started getting more and more. Like it's
We got a religious.
fucking kicked in, man. Anyways, guys,
All right. Well,
Patrick Weaver, his fourth time on Crown of
can I
Thoughts.
say one thing?
Say one thing.
So it might be more.
One thing only.
Oh,
More than
okay, so I started down a rabbit trail in the beginning. I went to this and this and this and this and this and this, and my finger goes backwards. But
I do. I'm
Listen.
always like that.
one day we'll get to the beginning of what I was saying, and that day will be a very special day. So
That'll be his fifth time.
think about that.
Next time you come on, we'll dig a little deeper into that,
We'll get real deep
bitches.
the whole way.
Crown of Thoughts, motherfuckers. Patrick Weaver. Hell yeah. I'm blanking out again whenever I try to end it. It's
I
like,
tried to end it all good now. I did this thing.
yeah, fucking whatever, guys. Good. Golden.